WATD presents John Paul, the Car Doctor. All things automotive. Have questions? Call or text 781-837-4900. Now, here's John Paul, the Car Doctor.
And good Sunday morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. I hope you enjoyed the program previously. I learned a little bit while I was listening. Also, never be in the Braintree Parade is one of the things I learned. Apparently, it's a 12-hour-long parade or something like that. So, but anyway, welcome to the Car Doctor program, where we can give you answers about all kinds of things about your cars, transportation in general, just try to help you. You heard the news where they were quoting AAA, me partially, about how this is a busy travel time. Because the holiday is falling on Saturday, a lot of people, their day off is on Friday. The first 2 weeks in July are traditional vacation weeks still for a lot of people. It goes back to the beginning of time, I think, working in factories or something, when factories would shut down for 2 weeks at a time. And that sort of stays with a lot of people. With work from home, it allows more people to change and change up their vacation time. So if you're on the road between now and next weekend, expect a lot of other people to be there with you, and just pack your patience while you're there is a good idea. With us on the phone is Brad Coleman. Brad is a retired NASCAR driver who now serves as CEO of Safeway Driving. I've seen NASCAR and kind of wonder about how all of it works together. Brad, good morning, and welcome to the Car Doctor program.
Hey, John. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely a pleasure. Let's talk a little bit, before we talk about the business side, let's talk a little bit about you. What got you into NASCAR? What did you do? How did you start off with that?
Oh, man. I mean, it goes back to all the way to where I was a little kid playing with little model cars on the floor and watching them on TV, and just loved cars and everything about them and wanted to race them. And I learned that you could actually race go-karts. I always thought you just went to like a little recreational place and drove, bad go-karts around, and that was it. I didn't know you could actually race and do it competitively. So once I learned that, it got me set on the journey to eventually racing in NASCAR, which was a lot of fun.
And the go-kart, a lot of professional drivers race go-karts, didn't they?
Oh yeah, that's where the majority of them get their start. Whether it's a go-kart on a traditional road course on asphalt, or if it's a go-kart on a dirt oval, it's how you get in when you're a little kid before you could drive a car.
Yeah, and then it goes into the more professional go-kart series, where I think they still have a big go-kart race down in Daytona, don't they?
Oh yeah, it's huge, especially in Florida in the winter, where everywhere else it's too cold. Everyone goes to Florida and they race down there. So you've got it at Daytona. I know Ocala, Florida is a big spot when I was doing it, and it's intense. Like it is, like you said, professional go-kart racing. It really is that. I mean, you've got these teams bringing these 18-wheelers and unloading a ton of carts, and it looks like a full-on professional racing event.
And I remember I was somebody I know did that, and I took their kart for a ride, and it was one of the fastest things from, I think, 0 to 60 I'd ever been in. It was remarkably fast.
Yeah, if you've never done it before and you just hop in it and go, it'll blow you away at how fast it goes. It's actually quite scary, especially considering you're like less than an inch off the ground when you're sitting in it. So yeah, you feel really low to the ground, and you even scrape the ground sometimes. You look at the bottom of the seat after a race, and it's not round, it's worn flat. So you're on the ground doing. Man, the fastest I went in a go-kart was about 100 miles an hour, which feels like 200 when you're that low.
Oh, I can only imagine. And then you moved on to NASCAR. What division did you race in? What did you do in NASCAR?
Yeah, I went all the way up to the Cup Series, where I raced for Hall of Fame Racing in the Cup Series. But majority of my time was spent, what do they call it now? The O'Reilly Series. Well, when I started, it was the Busch Series. That's how old I'm getting. And it was with Joe Gibbs Racing for the majority of my career there. So I was very fortunate to race with some really good teams and have a lot of fun doing that.
Now, are you still active in NASCAR, either as a spectator or as someone who can help people out?
I am very active as a spectator, and that's about it. I'm a fan of NASCAR, as I'm a fan of all forms of motorsports. On any given Sunday, like I just finished watching the Formula One race in Austria, and when we're done here, I'll probably get my kids and watch the MotoGP motorcycle race there in the Netherlands. And I love all forms of motorsports. It's so fun to me to watch just people go as fast as they can on the limit and race each other. I love it.
Yeah. When I mentioned the guy in the go-kart, his name, somebody I don't see anymore, but I knew him for a very long time, Dale Quarterly, and he started off on go-karts, went to motorcycles, went to, I don't remember what they called it, some form of NASCAR, then went to ARCA, and he still races, and it's sort of funny. Last year, I think he raced in the ARCA race and also raced in the truck race, and it was sort of funny because the truck race drivers are all in their teens and 20s, and they're like, and 63-year-old Dale Quarterly. And he and what was amazing to me was at his age, he ran 2 back-to-back races with about an hour in between, which tells me how good people like you and him, what kind of shape you have to be in a race car.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the fact that he did that is incredible, because even when I was doing it in my early 20s, I mean, after one race, I'd be pretty spent. So the fact that he did that and then went an hour later to do another shows that he's actually in really good shape. So that's impressive.
And the second race, he actually came in 7th, which was pretty impressive too. So, yeah. But and then you decided to go from professional road course track racing to Safeway. Tell us about this Safeway Driving.
Yeah, Safeway Driving, it's a driving school and not a performance driving school like you might think a race car driver would do, but it's a driver's ed, learn how to get your license and drive safe school, which a lot of people are curious as to why they would want to learn how to drive safe from somebody who used to just go as fast as they could and would crash on a racetrack and stuff like that, which is it's a valid question. And how I got there was while I was racing NASCAR. Nationwide Insurance was one of our big sponsors at the time, and they had different obligations that drivers would have to do at the different racetracks we traveled around the country. So what they would have us do is go to the local high schools in the area where we were racing and speak to the teens there about the dangers of driving distracted. And I did not want to do it. I was fresh out of high school at the time when I was racing, and I did not want to go back to a high school. It's not a very fun experience for me, but when I started doing it, I realized that these kids, that we were starting to make a difference. Like there would be a kid who'd come in and he'd grab a phone and hop in the simulator and drive, and he'd try to be really cool in front of his friends, and he would start crashing, and you could see something in their eyes where, oh, they're starting to realize that this is actually impacting their driving. And it really sparked a passion in me that really fueled me to figure out, how can I do more of this? Like, how can I do more of these events? Or what about when I'm done racing one day, I want to do something with this. So as a graduate of Safeway Driving myself in Houston, Texas, I went back to my old coach who taught me how to drive and get my license, Coach Walker, and told him about this passion I had and what we were doing on the race circuit. And it turns out that he was wanting to retire and sell the school. So it actually worked out great to where I ended up buying Safeway Driving from him and kept racing while I had it, but was also teaching people how to be safe drivers at the same time, which is an interesting juxtaposition.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, you mentioned distracted driving, and between distracted driving and impaired driving, those are some of the two of the biggest causes of crashes on the road. And the idea that your very beginning with this was going into schools, almost as somebody who just got out of school, to talk about distracted driving. So I'm guessing your school focuses on that as much as, and as somebody who works for AAA, and we own probably the largest driving school in the area, sometimes I even wonder, are we really teaching people how to drive? Or are we teaching them how to get their license? But it's really all the classroom part, and really just understanding that there are all these distractions on the road, right?
Yeah, and what you just said is you hit the nail on the head. That when parents call in and ask, because parent-taught driver's ed is a thing that's available now in a lot of states, where the parent can just get an online course and then get in the car and teach their kid how to drive. When they ask, why should I pay to come to this driving school versus do it myself? And I'll actually ask them exactly what you just said, which is, well, do you want them to learn how to drive, or do you want them to just get their license? Because those are two very different things. And at Safeway Driving, we're about teaching people how to drive. If you get your license also, because the reason you came to us is you need your license. But what's cool is that we're in the state of Texas right now, and the state of Texas releases on driving schools in the state and how successful their graduates are. And the data shows that Safeway Driving graduates' chances of getting in a crash is nearly half of your average driving school. So we're really big on teaching people how to drive and instead of just getting their license. So, yeah, you nailed it.
Yeah. And, in Massachusetts, we have something called In Control Advanced Driver Training, and it's advanced driving school. It's a 4-hour-long program, 2 hours of classroom, 2 hours behind the wheel, and they teach something similar that it's really about crash avoidance, distraction, and it sounds like you're doing a lot of the same thing. And we know, and you know as well, that, between the time you're a teenager and 25, your brain hasn't fully developed yet, and that is the case for people even older than that. But that idea they take more risk, where somebody who's 35 or 40 years old would go, I'm not going to do that. But you see, in fact, I saw somebody in a beach parking lot one day, and they were literally sitting on the windowsill of their car, trying to steer with their feet while somebody was pushing the gas pedal for them so they could drive along and wave to, the girls on the beach. When you're 40 years old, you wouldn't do that because it's stupid. But when you're 19 years old, it's like, it kind of makes sense. Okay.
Yeah, as you said that, I was thinking, I was having flashbacks to when I was between the ages of 16 and 25 and the stupid stuff I did on the street. And then you told the story of that. I have never sat on the car and tried to steer with my feet, so I feel better about myself and the decisions I made. But you're spot on that. I mean, it's just a scientific thing. Like, our brain is still developing at that age, and the female brains seem to develop quicker with that reasoning and logic than male brains.
My wife would agree with that.
Yeah. Mine too. I'm 38. I'm still waiting for mine to fully develop. So hopefully one day soon we'll get there. But I mean, all you can do is do the best you can in teaching the teenagers and new drivers the risks of the decisions they make. And I mean, it's up to them to determine if they're going to make them or not. But I think if you do a really good job of showing them, it sets them up to be just safer in general. But they're going to do what they want.
Yeah. Tell us about Safeway Driving. It started off as one school. Where is it today?
Yeah, it started off as one school 53 years ago. We're in Texas right now. Started in Houston. So we're all across Houston. We're in Dallas. We're in San Antonio and College Station, Texas. So we are a Texas company, kind of far away from you.
Yeah, that's okay. And is it a franchise?
It is. It is. That's one thing that I did after acquiring it from the original owner who had it for close to 40 years is look at it and go, well, how can we get this in front of more people? Because when I was told about that crash statistics I shared earlier, where our graduates are statistically safer than your average driving school in Texas, I was like, okay, we got to get this in front of more people. And instead of just opening a bunch of corporate locations that felt like a big company with corporate stores, I wanted to look at getting partners that were local in the communities, that lived in the community, that knew the people there and wanted to see them be safer on the roads and make a difference in their community. And so that's why we decided to go with the franchise model, because it allows people that have lived with their neighbors for decades and their kids have gone through school to make a real difference in their community with the people they know and love. So that's why we did that.
Now, back probably a couple of months ago, we had a woman on from the Phoenix area, and she started a automotive repair business, and part of her business model was not just opening more locations, but also helping people with learning about how franchises work, learning how maybe their business could be franchised out. Have you ever done any franchise coaching because of what you're doing?
I have not. That's a good question. I do a lot of franchise coaching with my franchisees and guiding them and giving them assistance, but I've never done franchise coaching with other companies. So that's interesting. My super producer Jesse owns a music school and a pizza shop, so maybe he's going to start to franchise one of those. So maybe may reach out to you at some point with a little bit of help for that. But as one of the things about and I don't pretend to know anything about racing, but I know a little bit about how teamwork works, and the driver and whether it's the crew chief, the rest of the mechanic staff, even the owner of the car, sometimes it's all about teamwork and working together and being clear about knowing what your job is. Is that kind of what you take to Safeway Driving? Yeah, I mean, you make a really good point on that. Most people that don't really understand motorsports and how it works, that have ever been involved, will see a race on the weekend and they see the driver and they sometimes see the pit crew. And when you tell people racing is a team sport, they go, well, what are you talking about? There's just one driver and one car. But it went behind the scenes. Like, for example, at Joe Gibbs Racing, when I was there were 700 people on staff that worked for that race team. All of them had different areas of the car that they were specialists in. So all that work just to get that one driver and that one car on the weekend. And there's a lot of coordination. There's a lot of systems you have to have in place, and you really have to look at data and know how to read it. So being a part of that was really, really helpful and eye-opening. And when you bring that to business or driver's ed, you can use the same approach with systems and looking at data and how do we adjust based off of what we're seeing and just make it better because the data doesn't lie.
Yeah, and that it reminds me of a story. I went to go see a friend of mine race his BMW in Sebring, Florida, and he's friends with another guy who races Porsches, and they had his tech guy there, and I said to him, "What are you doing?" He goes, "Well, I tell Fitzy and Mike, they said they slowed down, but they didn't slow down, and that's why they're scrubbing their tires. And I can look at chassis height, I can look at tire temperature, I can look at all kinds of things, and they can't really argue with that. They come back and they look at the same videos and the same information and go, oh yeah, I guess I maybe should have, been harder on the brakes in this corner or harder on the throttle here." In the whatever it was, the F1 movie, this same data guy, this guy's job was to tell Brad Pitt to slow down, because apparently Brad Pitt's contract was he couldn't go more than 160 miles an hour. So he had to keep being on the radio going, "Brad, you need to slow down. You're going too fast." He goes, "I'm not going fast enough." He goes, "You're going too fast." So it is about that.
Yeah.
So with
the data side of it, that was one of the. I mean, the data is so helpful. It shows you where you're not as good as other drivers, or where you could be better, or where you may be a little better. But as a driver, it's also frustrating because it doesn't lie. So
Right.
you could be like, no, I did brake deeper. And then they go, okay. And they look at the laptop. No, you actually hit the brakes 20 feet sooner than before. You're like, shoot.
Yeah.
Yep.
And is that kind of the same thing when you have your different franchise locations now, and maybe some school isn't doing as well? Can you take like that same ability to dig into data with a race car? Can you dig into data with someone's school and help them kind of do better with that?
Oh, absolutely. It's called telemetry in racing. When you download all the data and you read the telemetry, I mean, we do the same thing with our franchise partners, because of course, we want all of them to be successful and to have a bunch of students come through. So we can look at everything from, well, what percentage of the phone calls are you answering? Okay, how often are you going out to high schools and speaking? Okay, how many hours have you sold versus delivered? Oh, you need more instructors, and that's why there's so many things you can look at. We handle the curriculum side. We develop the curriculum. We're always updating it based off of the latest methods and whatever laws are changing. But when it comes to boots on the ground, just getting in the community, that's where our franchisees are out and just meeting people and sharing why they should be coming through us versus doing it themselves and that stuff. So we have different data, and we have coaches that help them should they have any questions. So that's a big part of what we do, is just the support, data-driven support.
Well, we're in the middle of, well, I guess not the middle of summer. Summer just started a week ago. But, this is considered, the 100 deadliest days, this kind of Memorial Day to Labor Day, where, there's more road crashes, there's more fatalities on the road in this 100 days. And it's really driver's education. And like you pointed out, why would a parent want to do that? Pay to have somebody teach their kids how to drive versus doing it themselves. And the problem is that same kid, and this is not 100% true if they did it correctly, but that same kid watched their parents drive since the day they came home from the hospital. Hopefully they're in a rear-facing car seat, and that wasn't the case. But still, their parents have been modeling what is probably not always the best behavior when they're behind the wheel. And for the kids, sometimes they're going to follow the same thing. So that's where you really need a professional, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And sadly, we'll still have parents that sign up with us with their teens, but when they drive up to the school to drop them off, the parents looking at their phone as they pull up to drop them off. So they're still, I mean, your kids are watching everything you do when you drive. I'm very aware of that. When my kids comment, if one hand comes off the wheel, they're like, Daddy, 2 hands on the wheel. I'm like, okay, I get it. It's like, yes, thank you. But, you talk about this summer being such a deadly 100 days, and there's so many different aspects of that. And there's people going on summer breaks, and they've got cars loaded with family. So there's distractions with dealing with your kids in the back or talking to your spouse or your partner in the other seat. And then we're driving a long distance. We just want to get there. So you drive more than you should, and you're tired. So there's drowsy driving, there's distracted driving. And then, of course, you talked about it earlier, intoxicated driving has been a thing for a long time and still is, unfortunately. So there's just, I would hope that anyone listening that's going on a road trip, remember the whole point is to get where you're going safely. Like, you wanted to go somewhere. If it takes longer to get there, do that. Like, the most you should drive in one stint, as we call it in racing, is 2 hours at a time. Drive those 2 hours. You're not, stop at a gas station, stop at a rest stop, get out, stretch your legs. It's way better for you physically. It'll help you stay more aware, and it'll keep you fresh and safer. So please do that.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the idea of, again, the things that can be distracted while you're on the road, and I had the opportunity once, and before I get into that, you look at, driver's ed and driving tests in Massachusetts versus maybe driving tests in Texas versus driving tests in California. There's 50 different driver's manuals. There's 50 different types of tests that, some states do something completely different. Some states require just behind the wheel lessons, and that could be voluntary. They don't have a classroom component. Some only have a classroom component. And that's one of the kind of, I think, challenges too, that there's no standardized driver's ed throughout the country. And I had the opportunity to drive with a guy from Germany once, and I was in the United States, but I was in a German market BMW, and I think I brought a Coke with me or something. I'm looking for a cup holder, and he goes, "There's no cup holders." I said, "What do you mean there's no cup holders?" And he goes, "We don't drink while we're driving." And I don't think in the hour I was in the car he ever said a word, and never had the radio on. It's like, no, we don't. That's not the way we learned how to drive. And there is, there was a time where the United States was one of the, had the safest driving record in the world, and now I think we're in like 27th place or something.
Yeah, that's a great point on that. And it's funny you talk about Germany, because I actually got to go over for a friend's wedding who's German a couple of years ago, and for the first time got to drive over there, got a rental car at the airport, and got to go on the Autobahn, which, if you've never done that and you're a car guy, you got to do it. It's incredible being able to go as fast as you want.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're comfortable. And one of the things I noticed super fast was how good the drivers were there, how organized they were, how aware they were of what was going on. Something here in the United States that you get all the time is people going slow in the left lane. So you'll be passing people on the right, you'll be passing people on the left, and people really aren't aware of what's going on. They're just kind of worried about themselves, and that's about it. But you go to Germany, I mean, they're very strict. Like, you only get in the left lane to pass, and then you get right back over, because if you don't, there's a Porsche doing 180 miles an hour that's coming up behind you, and there's going to be a big crash. So everyone was very organized in the way they drove, and it felt safe. When they have speed limit, they don't go over the speed limit. The speed limit's there for a reason, and they all do the speed limit. So it just feels very organized. And when you talk to one of them about, oh, do people hear text while driving, they look disgusted and confused, because that's something that people in Europe are like, no, why would you do that? That's not safe. And they have big consequences for doing it. Yet here in the United States, we're texting, driving, going slow in the left lane, like all these things. And one thing you pointed out was how the driver's ed regulations are different state to state. So you may have a state like Texas that has classroom component, and then behind the wheel that's required. And then you go to another state where there's no requirement to do any of it whatsoever, but people will do an online course because you get an insurance discount. So like the mix of driving it's all over the place on the skill level and the education level, and I'm not sure why we can't have a more cohesive state to state, at least minimum requirement. And if some states want to have more, great. If you want to get your license in Germany or in England, it takes a long time, and you have to do a lot of hours behind the wheel, because their tests to get their license are so hard. Like you were talking about how tests are different state to state. They're not that hard these days here in the United States to pass that last test to get your license. And the data showing, like you're talking about, that we've split down in safety on the roads compared to other countries. And all you have to do is go drive in those countries, and you can instantly see, like, oh, it's just different here. People drive differently. And I've definitely driven in countries where it feels way more dangerous than here. So we're not the worst, but we're not the best. And I think we could improve for sure.
Yeah. No, I remember talking to somebody and I don't remember, he might have been from Russia or the Ukraine or something, and he was talking about what you had to do to get your license. But you also had to, before your license was granted to you, whoever's in charge of it went and actually talked to your teachers and your parents to see if you were mature enough to get your license. and which I thought was sort of interesting. I'm like, really? And he just goes, yeah, you have to have somebody somebody at the school you go to say, no, this guy's a knucklehead, and he shouldn't ever be up behind the wheel, or no, he's a mature teenager, and yeah, he should have his driver's license. So I thought that was all pretty interesting. Brad, if people want to find out a little bit more information, or maybe just find some safety tips, where can they go?
Yeah, well, if you go to our website at safewaydriving.com, we've got blogs with different tips on there. Then that's where you can find more information about us. Other safety tips, man, there's so much on the internet on how to be a safe driver. And yeah, please just look up safety tips.
And you said you don't race anymore, but do you sim race?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes, sir. All the time. I love it.
Yeah.
I got to get it out of my system somehow.
So here in the Boston area, John Henry, who owns the Red Sox and a bunch of other things, I think he's the owner of iRacing. Is that what you use?
Oh, yes. I've been a member of iRacing since the beta days. Because Dale Earnhardt Jr. is a big part of iRacing, so he got me early access back when I was still racing. And man, I love iRacing. I'll do the 24 hours of Daytona with some friends where you're doing the whole 24-hour race. You switch off and you take turns. And iRacing's an incredible platform and such a useful tool. So many drivers these days are getting into racing cars, skipping go-karts. And just because they've been doing iRacing, and they have such a jump ahead of even when I started. I still played before iRacing came out. That same group made NASCAR Racing 2003, NASCAR Racing 2002, and that's where I cut my teeth there doing those. They're so helpful to just get the visuals and start to feel how a car acts when you do certain inputs with the wheel or the gas or the brake. And you get to skip the hardest part of racing, which is the feeling when you hit the wall. So you just have a reset button. So it's really good to learn on.
So if any of our listeners are on iRacing, you race under your own name?
I race under my own name. If you are listening and you're on there and you see me, don't hit me, and then say hi.
All right, there we go. Hey, Brad, thanks for taking some time out of your Sunday and joining us on the Car Doctor radio program. And be safe this week. There's going to be 71 million people out there traveling, so be safe.
Woo! I'll be 7,000,001. So, yeah, you stay safe out there, too, and I appreciate it, John.
All right, take care. Bye-bye. We need to take a break, pay some bills. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Ford Maverick, but the Lobo edition. We'll talk about that when we come back. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
Progressive knows it ain't easy navigating the open plains of home insurance, but there is one man who can help tame that wild herd of options, the Home Quote Explorer.
Note, Progressive's Home Quote Explorer is not a real person, but an online tool that lets you compare home insurance.
He's the type of feller who helps you decide on the right insurance, even if it ain't with him.
Again, not a person, just an online tool that helps you find great home coverage.
A real pioneer.
Okay, fine. Just do the thing. Yeah! Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers. Comparison rates not available in all states or situations.
In a world parched for excitement, one drink will emerge. Twisted Tea, the refreshing thrill ride of flavor. Recreating its classic role as the hard iced tea that goes down smooth. Twisted Tea doesn't just taste like real iced tea. It's made with real brewed tea and a 5% kick of alcohol. Taste the adventure with Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Hey there, folks. It's Quinn Kelly reminding you to tune in Sunday night at 5 for the South Shore's first voice in sports talk radio, The Sports Exchange. Unmatched coverage of local high school action, as well as a relatable voice on all things Boston Pro Sports. We've got you covered live at 5 every Sunday night. Have a question for our host, missed last week's show, or just want to share a great sports story? You can find us on Twitter at SE on WATD. But remember, mark your calendar, folks, and we'll see you Sunday night at 5 for the Sports Exchange on 95.9 WATD.
Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. Again, multiple award-winning WATD. All kinds of people won awards, including, I think Rob Hackle got something. Audrey got some award. Bethany Builders got a podcast award. Car Doctor program got nothing. We got to work on that, Jesse.
I didn't get anything either. I've never won an award.
Not even for best paper mache tree or anything, or
No, I'm not even that good at that. I don't. They don't give awards out for the most okay at his job guy. So I don't know. I've always set my expectations low for everything. I tell people to do the same for me. So, Maybe if there was a usually on time award, I'd win that.
There you go. Yeah, fine. That sounds good. I have actually, oddly, since I guess I've been writing for a really long time, but I don't consider myself a writer. I don't consider myself a broadcaster either, for that matter. But I have won 2 awards for writing, which was sort of fun, I guess. But no. Anyway, speaking of writing, I wrote about the Maverick Lobo, and the Ford Maverick. I've always liked the Ford Maverick because it started off as literally a $20,000 pickup truck. It was a front-wheel drive hybrid, steel wheels, no cruise control, and it was $20,000. And that lasted until they sold them all in the first day, I think. And then prices went up, and now you can get a hybrid and the all-wheel drive and you can get different engine. But then they came out with the Maverick Lobo, and all I knew was I got an email and said you'll be getting the Maverick Lobo to try out, and I was thinking it was some sort of outdoorsy sort of vehicle. I guess I was thinking Lobo, like wolf, I don't know, something, and I was completely wrong. And the 2026 Maverick Lobo is what happens when Ford decides a small truck should be fun to drive, something you almost could take to a cruise night, and not just like a truck workhorse off-roader kind of thing. It's really street focused. It's not, although it's all-wheel drive, it's not something that is, you wouldn't take this off-road because it sits a little too low to the ground. It's really a street-focused truck that, in my opinion, doesn't take itself that seriously. But under the hood, you'll find the same 2-liter EcoBoost Turbo 4 that a lot of people know. It makes 250 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. Doesn't sound like a lot, but this is relatively lightweight, and it scoots along pretty well. Ford hooked it up to a quick-shifting 7-speed automatic. Like I said, it's all-wheel drive, and it can actually shuffle torque from side to side. So it actually, if you push it into a corner, it actually digs in pretty well. The real magic is really underneath. The suspension sits lower. The springs and shocks are performance-tuned, and the brakes are bigger. The steering's been recalibrated. It feels less like a truck and more like kind of a tall hatchback. So it feels more car-like, I guess, European hatch feeling kind of thing. There's even a dedicated Lobo mode, which kind of sharpens throttle response. Think of it as sport mode. That's what it really is. But it holds the gears a little bit longer, and it kind of tightens everything up. Ford says it's actually for track use. Maybe. Likewise, it's really easier to spot because it's got this lowered stance compared to my neighbor's Ranger, which you actually sort of step up into. This is not that at all. This is sedan height almost. It's got a more aggressive front end, black roof, 19-inch wheels. That gives it that sort of sport truck look. You get ActiveX trim seats and contrast stitching. It's a very pretty truck inside. A few sporty trim bits. Remind you, isn't a base Maverick with a bunch of stickers all over it. It's a different truck, absolutely. It's still a Maverick at heart. Day-to-day usefulness doesn't disappear. We went and bought some potting soil and plants and stuff at the local store. It was kind of handy to have a pickup truck to do that in. It has tows about 2,000 pounds. It comes with, this one has a hitch on it, and it comes with Ford's backup system where you can just turn a knob to back up and make backing up a little bit easier. I would like to try that someday, trying to back my boat into the ramp, which I'm terrible at. The infotainment system, it's modern and it's annoying. It's got this large 13-inch touchscreen, and if you've listened to me forever, you know that I get bothered by touchscreen-based systems that are just too distracting. Maybe because I like to constantly change stations, find something different to listen to. I don't know, adjust the fan on the climate control, and push-button stuff I think just works better than touchscreen. It does have all the stuff you expect: Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, voice controls, over-the-air updates. I mean, it's just a little too touchscreen heavy. Even what's sort of weird in a way, the volume knob for the radio, and there's some redundant controls on the steering wheel, but the volume knob for the radio is kind of on the right side of where you would expect it to be. So, I expect the volume knob to be kind of near where I'm sitting. It's kind of a reach over from that. Not any big deal, but if you do have Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, it actually seems like it improves it a bit. Fuel economy sits around 20 miles per gallon in the city, 30 miles per gallon on the highway, which isn't fantastic, but it's pretty reasonable for a performance-oriented all-wheel drive compact truck. I was reading a little bit about this, and I saw somebody mention that they thought the materials didn't feel as quality as they should. I didn't seem to notice that. I thought it was good, and to me, everything the seats seemed good, the materials in the dash seemed good. I liked it. I think they did a nice job with the overall quality, fit, and finish of the inside of the vehicle. It seemed good. You don't buy this Maverick Lobo to go rock crawling. You buy it because you want a compact, stylish truck that is actually fun to drive. Mini trucks seem to be making a comeback. Back 15 or 20 years ago, mini trucks were a big deal. Whether it was anything from, the original Ford Rangers to Datsun pickups to the Toyota pickup to the Chevy Love truck. Those, I think there was even a mini truck magazine once, and then it sort of faded away, but mini trucks are starting to make a comeback, and this is probably, something that, is probably out there. If you're not ready to go out and buy a Datsun or a Toyota or a Love truck, but you want a versatile truck that has the ability to, accelerate and feel good on the way to the hardware store, this one's a serious look. It's also not cheap. I think the MSRP on this is around $40,000. So it's certainly at the very high end of what a Maverick is. And, like I said, when the Maverick first came out, for the cost of this, you could probably buy two base Mavericks. But that base Maverick didn't run on 19-inch wheels. It didn't have the 2-liter turbo that made 250 horsepower. It didn't have cruise control. It was a very basic truck, where this is what happens when you want to take that truck and still have it be a truck, still have it where you can put bikes in the back and stuff in the back of it, carry a little bit of weight, and still make something that's fun to drive, and, wash it, clean it, bring it to a car show, and I think people like looking at it. So there's our review of the Maverick Lobo. Next week, 4th of July weekend, I guess. 4th of July is Saturday, I believe. And we will be on Sunday. We'll be live as always. But we'll be talking to Ford historian Ted Ryan about, they have a new display going in. And I was actually kind of happy. I heard he actually wants to talk to me. So, hey, how about that? Which is different than me wanting to talk to him, which I always like talking to him. The Ford historian, always good. And that is, if you remember back, the Heritage Vault, Ford Heritage Vault, you can find some amazing stuff. And he was the one who sort of put all that together. And you can find stuff like, original, copies of, things like window stickers and owner's manuals and advertising and all kinds of stuff. So if you have a Ford and you want to go, really do that, really, deep dive into it, good stuff. So, and I think we've talked to Ted Ryan, in a variety of station locations. In fact, if you listen to me when I was on the AM station, you may have remembered Marita, my producer at the time. I want to congratulate her. She just had twins. So now she has 3 children in her family, and so congratulations to her as well. Why don't we take another break? When we come back, we'll talk about some of the questions that came in. One of them is about a 1965 Ford Mustang convertible, and I also want to talk about a vehicle that I saw last week at a car show called the Imposter. Why don't we take that quick break? When we come back, we'll talk about that and much more. You're listening to the Car Doctor program on 95.9 WATD. We'll be right back.
Even car geeks and do-it-yourselfers rely on AAA to give them extra peace of mind on the road. AAA offers 24/7 roadside assistance, whether you're in your own vehicle, a friend's car, or even a rental. Combine that with great rates on insurance, hotel, gas, and dining savings, and discounts on 8,700 brands, and you're covered on and off the road. Get a special membership offer today at AAA.com/join. That's AAA.com/join.
If Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea was your best friend, it would be the kind of friend that starts an impromptu dance party in the supermarket aisle that turns into an all-day pool party rager at your place, and you don't even own a pool. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea turns any day into a legendary adventure. It's smooth and refreshing real iced tea with just the right kick of alcohol. Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea. Keep it twisted.
Twisted Tea Brewing Company, Cincinnati, Ohio. Please drink responsibly.
Shop the Sherwin-Williams 4th of July sale and get 30% off paints and stains June 26th through July 6th. Whether you're refreshing your interior or exterior, we've got the colors to bring your vision to life. And with delivery, getting everything to your door is easier than ever. Shop online to have it delivered or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details. Delivery available on qualifying orders.
Hi, this is Liz Loans. Tune into Twilight Showcase Radio, hosted by Sandy Stride and Keith James. Visit twilightshowcase.org.
Twilight Showcase, tonight from 8 to 10 on 95.9 WATD. Make an appointment Sunday morning at 11 for John Paul, the Car Doctor, on 95.9 WATD. Now, back to the Car Doctor.
And welcome back to the Car Doctor program. Before we get into the Mustang and before we get to Robert in Tingsboro, I want to talk about this car called the Imposter that I saw last Saturday at a Saturday night car show. And it looked like a 70s Chevelle convertible, but it was really a Camaro underneath. And it was it had 1970s looking fenders hood, ram air hood, everything looked perfect until you looked on the inside. Then you could tell the rear seat's a little too tight, the gauge package a little bit different. You knew it wasn't a 70s Chevelle. It was made by a company called Trans Am, and the starting price was $259,000. I'm like, holy cow. I mean, it was beautiful, but $259,000 for a replica looking Chevelle. It was nice. It was nice, but $259,000. But let's talk to Robert in Tingsboro, maybe about his Maverick. Robert.
Good morning, John. It's been a while since I spoke to you, and I just missed your review of the Lobo, which I really do like. I wish I had waited, but maybe another time. Did you actually drive one?
Oh yeah. I've been driving it for a week. Yep.
Good. Awesome. What do you think?
It would be a way better truck to drive in Florida than it would be to drive in Massachusetts, because it hits every pothole really hard. So every break in the pavement is like boom, boom, boom. Where if it was in Florida, where there's no frost heaves and the roads are relatively flat, it'd be a ball to drive. But here it's a little tough to drive because the suspension's lowered and it's got these big 19-inch wheels and tires on it. So it does ride a little hard because of that.
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Now, is this the lowered one that's like 40?
Oh yeah, it's got everything.
Yeah,
oh yeah, it's got it's a $40,000 truck.
Yeah, that's the way I'd go if I wouldn't get the base one. It's $37,000, but there's a lot of things missing that I'd be used to. So, but yeah, I was just curious if you.
See, I got called cheap the other day because when I buy a vehicle, I tend to buy it's hard to buy a base model, but like the last Hyundai I bought, I just bought the, Hyundai SE, back when I bought it a bunch of years ago, and I'm like, it doesn't have a moonroof, so what? It doesn't have a power lift gate. I don't really care about that. I can still manage to open and close the lift gate, and it would have been nicer if it had a better backup camera, but it's missing things like, heated mirrors and heated seats. And I'm like, well, I don't live that often where it's cold anymore. So I'm like, I don't really need heated seats and a heated mirror. So I can live without that. So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, my 3-year-old Maverick now, it was $37,500 when I got it. It was loaded, everything but the moonroof. So, something that's $43,000 doesn't shock me. I didn't go for the entry level. Right. It's nice that they have it, because I'm seeing a lot of them out there, XLs or Lariats. It seems like one or the other, either loaded or strip.
Yeah, and I when I first drove the Maverick, when it first came out, and it was the cheap one, the base model one, I actually tried to buy one. I called a local dealer, and then I called the PR person at Ford, and I said, is there anything you can do to get me on the list to buy the Maverick? And she said to me, I can't even get on the list to buy the Maverick. She said, she said, no. She said, you just got to try to work with your dealer and see what they have. But only because it was such, at the time we were kind of thinking we needed another car. And it was like, this is a really good deal for something that's brand new. And since then, it's funny. Somebody else I know just bought a 2500 GMC pickup truck, and I'm like, why would you want anything that big? Unless you go tow something, why do you want this? What amounts
gas hog?
A gas hog and something that you can't park in every parking space.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's good talking to you again, John. Hopefully I can do it again. Have a great day.
Anytime. Take care. Bye-bye. Somebody said they recently purchased a dream car, a 65 Mustang convertible. It's not perfect. It's in good condition. In the winter, they'll store it in a friend's garage. Be nice to have a friend like Jesse. You don't have an open garage. You don't have an open bay in a garage that I can use for the winter, do you?
No, I could use a garage.
Yeah, I know.
If anyone's got one, they just want to drop it off, let me know.
Yeah. But during the rest of the year, it'll be outside. Is there a car cover you can recommend? The Volkswagen that we keep here, and oddly, the other Volkswagen that we used to keep in Florida, which is now here. It's odd to see two Volkswagen Beetle convertibles in the same yard. People must walk by and go, what's wrong with him? But I was getting Empire car covers. I thought they were good car covers. They did their job. I did try the cover seal cover, the one that's supposed to keep rodents out. I wasn't as happy with that. First off, it weighed a ton. And I thought it didn't breathe quite enough. So since then, I understand they put vents in it, which probably makes a real difference. But the Empire covers I thought were really good. Well, I left my Hyundai in Florida and I was looking for a car cover, and I looked at Empire, and I didn't see what I was looking for, so I went to, I don't know, Walmart.com or something, and they had a cover made by Budge, which is the parent company of Empire. And, Empire's been around for a bunch of years, but Budge has been around since the 40s. So I got it. I thought it was a good price. Seemed to stay well, during windy weather. But what was interesting is apparently I whined enough about trying to find a car cover that I don't know how things happen, but U.S. Car Covers sent me an email about their car cover, and I said, hey, you want to send me one? Try it out. I said it's got to be a good test because it's going to sit in Florida, basically outside, although in a carport, and it gets pretty hurricane-y in Florida. And if you have something that has built-in straps and won't damage the paint, love to try it. Well, I bought the Budge car cover, and a couple days later this other one showed up. So it's on the car. Would I recommend it? It's a very nice car cover. It's called the Dash Shield Ultimum, and it seems that it has 3 straps underneath that hold it tight. I did put a rope over the top of it lengthwise, kind of hold it in place just in case. The Empire car covers, I think of the couple I bought, one of them didn't make it through the hurricane. I don't know where that one went, but it did, the Volkswagen that it was on kind of survived 3 hurricanes. So there you go. We're just about out of time. Jesse, are we out of time? We getting close?
We are.
We are. All right. Because we went over last week. I don't want to do that again. So for all of you out there, 4th of July is coming up. Remember, if you light fireworks, put them on the ground first. Don't light them in your hand. And don't light fireworks. Probably the better idea. And until next week, make sure you wear your seatbelt, drive safely, be good to your car. And if you do see an emergency vehicle by the side of the road, slow down or move over. Saves lives. Have a great 4th of July. Talk to you next Sunday. Bye-bye.